I woke up to something turning my bedroom door handle. Slowly. Not trying to hide it, not forcing it, just turning it, like whoever was on the other side had all the time in the world. I held my breath and stared at the door. I live alone. No one has a key. The handle stopped just before it clicked. Whoever was there didn't push the door open. They just stood there, listening. I could feel it. Someone standing inches away, close enough to hear me breathe. Then, without a sound, the handle turned back the other way, and the hallway went quiet. The first time it happened, I assumed it was just the wind. I live in a third-floor walk-up in an old brick building that's seen better decades. The windows rattle in their frames, and the floorboards have a habit of sighing under their own weight. I had come home from a late shift at the hospital, tossed my keys on the kitchen island, and went straight to bed. When I woke up the next morning, my keys were sitting on the floor by the front door. I must have missed the counter, I thought, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. It was a logical explanation. I was exhausted, and people do clumsy things when they're tired. 2 nights later, I found the bread. I had bought a fresh loaf of sourdough on my way home and distinctly remembered placing it in the bread box. But when I walked into the kitchen at 7 a.m., the loaf was sitting in the center of the dining table. It wasn't just moved, it had been unwrapped. A single jagged slice had been torn from the end. The soft white center was gone, leaving only a hollowed-out crust. I stood in the quiet kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator suddenly feeling deafening. I checked the front door. Locked. Deadbolt engaged. I checked the fire escape window in my bedroom. Locked from the inside, the metal butterfly nut tightened so hard it bit into my thumb when I tried to turn it. I live alone. No pets. No spare keys out with friends. Just me. I decided to buy a camera. It was a small, discreet cube I hid on the bookshelf, camouflaged between a row of medical textbooks. It was motion-activated and synced directly to my phone. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Every creak of the building sounded like a footstep. Every shadow cast by the streetlights outside looked like something waiting. Eventually, exhaustion won, and I drifted into a thin, restless sleep. I woke up at 1:34 a.m. to my phone vibrating on the nightstand. Motion detected in living room. My heart slammed against my ribs. I grabbed the phone, my palms so slick with sweat, I nearly dropped it. I opened the app. The video feed was grainy, lit by infrared. My living room looked empty. For the first 10 seconds, nothing moved. Then, something shifted near the floor. From underneath my sofa, a space no more than 6 inches high, a hand emerged. It was pale, the skin stretched tight over the knuckles. It gripped the carpet and pulled a body out behind it. The person was impossibly thin, dressed in gray rags thick with dust. The movement was smooth, controlled, wrong. I watched as the figure stood up. It was a woman, or something close to one. Her hair hung in matted strands, and her eyes were wide, unblinking, fixed. She didn't go to the kitchen. She didn't search for anything. She walked straight toward my bedroom door. In the video, she stopped just outside. She leaned her head against the wood and closed her eyes. She stayed there for 5 minutes, completely still, listening to me breathe. Then she reached down and turned the handle. I looked at my real door. I hadn't locked it. The knob began to turn, slowly, centimeter by centimeter. The metal clicked, quiet but sharp in the silence. I bolted upright.
"Who's there?"
The handle stopped. Silence. No movement. No sound. I grabbed the lamp from my nightstand, tore the cord free, and moved to the door. I pulled it open. The hallway was empty. I went into the living room, turning on every light. The apartment was bright, still, unchanged. I checked under the sofa. Nothing. Closets, bathroom, kitchen. No one. I went back to the footage, my hands shaking, and rewound. On the screen, she reacted to my voice. She didn't run. She dropped flat to the floor and slid back under the sofa. The same sofa I was standing next to. I looked down. The fabric hung to the floor. She hadn't left. She was still there, right beneath me. I walked out of the apartment, down 3 flights of stairs, out into the street. I didn't stop until I reached the police station 4 blocks away. When they came back with me and flipped the sofa over, they found her, and they found the nest. There was a crawl space behind the drywall in my closet. It led into the building's ventilation shaft. Inside were dozens of my missing socks, photographs of me with the eyes scratched out, a small mirror. She had been living there for 5 months, but the worst thing wasn't that she was there. It was the notebook, page after page, times, notes, observations. 12:45 a.m. Mark is snoring. 1:15 a.m. Mark moved his left arm. 1:29 a.m. I touched his hair tonight. He smelled like soap. The last entry was written minutes before I woke up. 1:34 a.m. He's having a bad dream. I want to go in and wake him up. After that, nothing felt the same. The house didn't feel empty anymore, even when I was the only one inside. Every room carried something I couldn't place, like it had been used in a way I hadn't seen. I would walk from one end to the other and still feel like I'd missed something, like there were parts of it I didn't fully know. Nights were worse. I stopped sleeping properly. Small sounds that I would have ignored before kept pulling me awake, and once I was up, I couldn't settle again. It wasn't fear in a sudden way. It was constant, like something that stayed just under everything else. I tried to tell myself it would pass if I gave it time, but it didn't. The feeling didn't fade. It stayed exactly where it was, like it had fixed itself into the place. I left as soon as I could. I packed what I needed, closed the door behind me, and didn't stay another night. I found somewhere else, somewhere smaller, brighter, somewhere with no history. It should have been enough, but it wasn't. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, convinced I've heard something move, like someone trying not to wake me. I think about that last line she wrote. He's having a bad dream. I want to wake him up. I don't go back to sleep after that.